Hi, I'm Rod and this is my guest. We have a sound engineer of the highest order and the longest serving time. Would you like to introduce yourself quickly?
Well, I'm Cliff Baker and I worked in radio as a technician from 1957 for 50 years. I worked. In actual fact, I retired after 47 years, but I was back again on contract for another 3 years, so I did a total of 50 years. Gave up after that and decided to move to Tauranga.
Now you were telling me that you used to warm your hands with the valves. That's how the transistors work when you started. Is that true?
Well, you could warm your hands on the valves if you're really cold. But we started before transistors, where you turned the valve. You had a valve radio, you turned it on, you had to wait at least 30 seconds before the sound came in while everything warmed up.
That's good. Now your wife is judging the piano competition here in Taupo.
She is.
Yep. And I thought it was interesting. She's going to be doing some another exam where you've got to improvise. I thought since you're a groupie and you follow your wife around these classical piano things.
She's going to do an exam, that's her aim, where she will do one classical piece and then she does 3 other pieces, which are ragtime and jazz type pieces, where you don't play as the music's written necessarily the whole lot. You have to include bits of improvisation in it.
Now I've shown you the iPad Pro, the foot long one, and the möbius camera today, and how they cross over with the USB 3.0 little transfer. And so this is a demonstration. This is a person who 95% knows everything, and I'm just a little 5% on the end. So sharing the newest technology with you is exciting for me.
It's exciting for me.
Sorry.
But I think that you know a lot more than the 5% or the 10% that you said. You're really up on the play.
There's a guy, Kevin Harris, down in Invercargill, who was a sound engineer, and he went over and he spent 3 years in the Royal Trinity, or the College of Music, and learnt how to write symphony orchestras. And then he went over to Italy. His mum was Italian, and he learned how to write symphonies. And then he went and worked in a sound studio. Now the old guy was 80 at the time in Italy, and after World War II, the Germans, they'd invented what we know as the tape recorder, but it was 2 bits of wire going between 2 drums. And there were 2 of these prototypes that the Americans had confiscated, and they gave one to the old 80-year-old, the Italian guy, and they took the other one back to America to investigate it. So this guy learned from someone who, if you like, had one of the first tape machines.
My father had a wire recorder when I was a child. I can remember that, which you have the 2 bits of spools, and the wire went past the head, and that was before tape was invented. Because they went from paper tape. We used to have paper tape stuff that worked originally, but it was very fragile before they got the plastic tapes and things like that. And then they altered the oxide on the tape considerably too. So tape came along quite some time after the wire recorder. But we had a wire recorder at home.
What was the sound of it like, quality?
Quality-wise, it was... my father was a classical music enthusiast, and he wanted good quality stuff. And it was better than the LP records and stuff, or as good as that. It was a very thin stainless steel wire. It did record well.
Yes, good.
The only trouble is, if you broke it at all or something like that, you tied a knot in it, you know.
Yeah.
That was okay while the head was new, but the head wore a groove with the wire going past continually. And after a year or so, if you came to a knot, the groove was such that the wire would go past and it would break it again, you know. So you used to take the heads out and hone them on a shaving block and things like that to get the groove out of it. But wire recorders were good quality.
Well, when we were in the Invercargill studios, we went from Windows basically to 95, and we had an analog to digital converter. And so we went from learning 8-track reel to reel. So this guy was an incredible teacher, and then we went to the first digital on Windows 95. So I've had the best, if you like, in the world teaching me sound engineering.
Very good.
Now we had a class of 6 songwriters, and in Chicago and the kids would go in, and we had a class straight after lunch, and the tragedy was that 5 of them would probably not return to class. And I'm sitting in this class, and I'm not the hottest songwriter or musician there, with this world-class composer and songwriter, and I'm sitting there blinking away, and I really felt daunted and wished these other 5 would turn up, because this guy was just a genius, and so I had a whole year of learning songwriting from him. So he said to me, I can't teach you, I'll teach you an attitude. He said, when you leave with me, you'll have an attitude, and that will sustain you. It doesn't matter. So I mixed 48 live bands. He talked about Mick Jagger before. So he was a great guy. So hopefully his attitude, if you're out there, Kevin Harris, thanks very much. And this interview is probably that attitude you were talking about, because this is a fine historical. Anyway, just a bit more. So Radio New Zealand, you knew it when there was what? No internet. Go how far back did people used to crowd around the radio and listen? The only bit of news in the country, a newspaper and radio.
The news, of course, when I started, the news was only on the national radio I think it was on at midday and 9 o'clock at night or something like that. It was only on a couple of times, and they would have the BBC radio broadcast the news. You'd hear that.
When you say you started, how old were you? Were you 14 years old making the cups of tea, or?
15 years old, something, 16 years old,
Right,
16 or 17, I can't remember.
And what were your duties?
The first job we had, they gave me a paintbrush and a roller and told me I had to paint this control room.
Really? So you didn't get left-handed screwdrivers and skyhooks from the cupboard?
For the first month or so, we were painting this control room, which was Pinex.
Yeah.
Like those Pinex tiles up there, except they had no undercoat on them or anything, and the water just... The paint just went in like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And so it took us some time. We eventually got it done. Latterly, we were sent on a course to Wellington for about 3 months, where we learned theory about radio and things like that, because the broadcasting used to teach all the trainees. We had something like about 28 trainees that year that I joined from around the country, so when you all got to Wellington, it was quite a big class.
Now we could continue this, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop this into the iPad,
And have a look.
and we're going to have a look at it, but more than that, we're going to put some words across. So the words are going to purely from this gentleman. He's going to say at this point and this point, these are the words that I want on the screen. So when you read the words on this video, this is the author of them. Yep. Anyway, it's been great. I just want to keep this minute to under 10 minutes, and anyway, we'll stay in touch. We'll probably put a contact in the words, so if you want to send him an email and ask him a question, that's the easiest way to get the other answers. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
There you go. Let's get editing on this.